Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. My show is dedicated to helping you build healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of the personalities. This show airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are trying to give you content that you can use to build stronger relationships. Now, the show is focused on the four personality styles that was developed by the late Florence Littauer. This show speaks about four personality styles. You have two extroverted personality styles and you have two introverted personality styles. Your extroverts are the people who get their energy from outside. They get their energy from other people. And the introverts get their energy from within. Now, let's talk about the extroverts. You have the popular sanguine and the powerful choleric. The popular sanguine is just that, very popular. Most people know them because they're friendly and bubbly and energetic and outgoing. They're very warm, they're inviting, but they also have personality weaknesses, which all personalities have. And some of the weaknesses are they're flighty and they talk too much and they're very forgetful, just to name a few. Then you have the powerful choleric. The powerful choleric personality is a born leader. It's a mover and a shaker. They get more things done in the morning than most of us get done all day. They're a strategist. You can count on them to get the job done. However, they have weaknesses as well. They can be very domineering and overpowering and overbearing, controlling, and they can also be a bit rude, even if they're not trying to be. So those are your extroverted personality styles. And then your introverted personality styles are the perfect melancholy and the peaceful phlegmatic. The perfect melancholy is a deep thinker, compassionate, caring. They care about people, not just in their own tribe, but they care about the world at large. But they can also be highly critical of themselves and others. They could be a little manipulative and prone to depression. And then you have the peaceful phlegmatic. That's your fourth and final personality style and your second introverted personality style. And that personality style is a kind and generous and dependable, cool, calm, collected personality style. They get their, they tend also to have some negative traits, and some of the negative traits they have is that they're uninvolved and disinterested, and they could just be non-confrontational. So that's just a brief overview of the personality styles. If you want to know more about them, you can go to my website, Beyond Two. It's the same as the sign behind me, beyond2llc.com. We'll give you a little bit more about that. But also you can take a personality assessment. You can order one, take the personality assessment. With that comes a complimentary 20-minute consultation to go over your results. Now, I am, in case I didn't say this, my name is Karen Ward. I'm an advanced certified personality trainer and speaker. I am the author of the book, Couple for Life, Overcoming Personality Differences in Marriage. I am a personality coach. I love coaching couples with their personality, out of their personality differences or learning how to overcome them. I like coaching individuals in their life choices. So if you need my help, just reach out to me through my website. Now, I want to, tonight's show is about, it's going to be a live Ask Karen segment. I like Ask Karen segments because I want to be able to answer your questions about personalities. And I get a lot of questions whenever I do a workshop or a training or a speaking engagement, even in this platform. I have actually people who call me on a regular basis asking for advice about how to make certain decisions or how to take certain comments or how they should react to certain things. I have that all the time. And so I have just formulated some questions that are frequently asked of me, and decided that I'm going to answer those. But I'm also going to answer any live questions that you have. So please put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them for you tonight on tonight's segment. Tonight's segment is entitled balanced partnerships, overcoming personality differences in relationships. And all of us have personality differences in our relationships. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because over the next several weeks, I'll be talking about people who are interested, who are in relationships, who are interested in getting married, who are already married, because I'm doing a workshop on November 4th here in the the DC area, um, for couples, hopefully under 10 years of marriage, who are struggling and want to have an understanding of how they can navigate their relationships by understanding each other's differences and trying to build a stronger relationship. So, for the next several weeks, I will be working on, every show will be dedicated to talking about relationships and talking about building healthier, stronger connections. Um, oh, sweet Foxy is already talking. She says, some folks I find hard to get along with. How do I find harmony? I just can't find common ground. So irritating. Some people, it's hard to build a strong foundation. So we'll get to that in a second. Before we get into the crux of the show, I want to talk a little bit about, apologize a little bit because I knew I was going to have, I said I was going to have the content for the upcoming workshop by last weekend, but we've had a death in our family. We actually buried a young cousin, rest in heaven, Erica, yesterday. And I had two family members that are in the hospital right now, my nephew and one of my cousins. So I asked that you lift my family in prayer. But I'm a little slower in getting some of my content out, and I apologize for that. Even next week's show, I don't have it on deck yet, and that's because of some of the things that we're going through right now. So anyway, thank you so much for your understanding. So let's talk a little bit about what Sweet Foxy Soul is asking me, and then I have a slide presentation that I had some of the top questions that have been asked of me, and some of the answers that I have for you. So you find it hard to get along with some people. Now, that is true. I don't care where you are in life. I don't care what kind of personality you have. We all have people that we have difficulty getting along with for various reasons, right? And most of it is probably because of our personalities and the fact that our personalities are different. And so we see other people by the lens of our own personality. And because we see people by the lens of our own personality, we don't always see things from their perspective. And that's really kind of what the gist of my show is about, is trying to get you to see through other people's lenses so you can adjust your attitude, your behavior, your communication, because you can't change other people. I always say that. Stop trying to change other people. You can only change yourself or your desire to change, because sometimes even change for yourself is hard. I'll give you an example of that. If you're a person that tries to stop smoking and you can't stop smoking, you want to stop smoking. You have a desire to stop smoking, but change is hard. And so sometimes you have to surrender that change to your higher power, I call God, and say, okay, I want this change to happen, but it's bigger than me. So what can I do? But anyway, back to her question. So some of the reasons why we have a difficult time is because we just don't understand others. And so I'm hoping that through a lot of the content that I share is that you will get understanding. You will get to understand and see other people the way they were hardwired. Okay. And I know it can be irritating, Sweet Foxy. And it's hard sometimes find a middle ground. But one of the ways you find a middle ground is by extending grace to others. Like not always worrying about your point of view or being right about a situation, even if you are right. Like, I have a girlfriend that says, if you know you're right, what's the purpose of having an argument or having a discussion? What would be the purpose of that? And sorry. So you just might as well just know that you're right and move on. Why argue the point if you already know it? So if you're trying to find common ground, one of the ways is to extend the grace to someone, right? Another way to do that is to surrender your will for God's will. That's another way, because and I tell people all the time, this show is not a Christian show, but I'm a Christian. So what I believe is going to come through. Okay. So one of the things I believe is a scripture that says, it says, as far as it depends on you. No, it says, oh, I love the scripture and I always mess up the beginning. The gist of it is, as far as it depends on you, need to be at peace with all men, right? And I always forget the very beginning. But that scripture means that we're not going to always be at peace with everybody. Even if you try to be at peace, somebody may not want to be at peace with you. And it's okay, because not everybody is going to be able to, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to want to be in a relationship with you. Not everybody wants to be friends with you for various reasons, for a multitude of reasons. But as far as it depends on you, so what you can do, and in this question, one of the things you can do is decide that I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be irritated. That's a decision you can make. And you can say, I seek to understand rather than being understood. That's another saying I say all the time. Seek to understand rather than being understood. Because when we seek to understand, we get something. We already know what we're thinking. We already know how we feel. So what do we get from that? We don't grow or change or evolve from that. We change and grow and evolve from seeking to understand, and then listening, actively listening, and understanding. So anyway, so let me get to the slide presentation. And if I haven't said this, if you haven't already clicked on the subscription button, please do so. Please comment whatever comments, questions you have. Please share the content if you think it's of value to you or would be of value to anyone else. Please share the content with them so that, so that they will be able to get the information as soon as we air. I love live interaction. I love for people to be able to communicate. Also, if you feel like you have something relationship worthy that the show would benefit from and you would like to be on the show, reach out to me on my website, beyond2llc.com. I'll put it in the chat. That's BEYONDTWOLLC.com. And we'll see if it's something that we can talk about, and you'll bring your expertise and I will bring the personality, and we'll have a good old time here. So let's talk about personalities and relationships. I love having quotes whenever I do something. And this quote says, affection is when you accept someone's strengths. Love is when you accept someone's flaws. Yes. Love requires more of us, right? It requires us to give more of ourselves to other people. So it requires for you not to just love somebody when they're lovable, but to love them when they're not. And that's the hard part. That's how you know you love somebody, is when they get on your last nerve and you still love them. Or when they do the unthinkable or, the unconscionable and you still love them. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Geesh. That's really love. And I think that love manifests itself in a lot of different ways. But we can be affectionate and sweet and nice towards people, but really love is demonstrated by how we accept other people. All right, so let's talk about the first question I have all the time. What's the number one reason for divorce? And the answer is there for you. Selfishness. And people, it's so funny because I always hear things like it's finances. And I understand how finances is a major deal. Matter of fact, I watch a show and I've been watching it for a while, a couple of shows. I watch a show called uh, The Ultimatum. I watch a show called Married at First Sight, and I watch another show. It's about people in pods. I can't remember that name of that show. But anyway, so I watch a bunch of shows, relationship shows, right? And this one lady was having a hard time with her man because he didn't make enough money. So money was a big deal for her, right? So I know money is a big deal for some people. I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. What I'm saying is not number one. I also know that intimacy is a big deal for people, but it's also not number one. Communication is a big deal, but it's also not number one. The number one reason for divorce is selfishness, because all of those things are rooted in selfishness. If you have lack communication, if you lack intimacy, if you are a poor steward of your finances, all those things are rooted in selfishness. And once you can get root of the selfishness, you're able to address a multitude of things. So if you really think about whatever issues you're having right now, right, with your significant other, what issues you're having, whatever those issues are, if you think about it, I bet you can get to the root of it and say somebody's being selfish. Just give it some thought. I believe you'll get there. All right. And I'd like to know your comments. If you have any questions about that or any comments about selfishness being the number one reason for divorce, or how selfishness really plays a part, I want you to put it in the chat. Now, if you are having difficulty chatting on Facebook, I think Facebook, I heard that you have to go in facebook.com/StreamYard in order to comment. Otherwise, head over to my YouTube channel, Personality Speaking, and then you can comment there. True. Selfishness ended your relationship. Okay. All right. So let's talk about selfishness a bit. Let's talk about each of the personality styles. We talk about the popular sanguine. Remember that extroverted, outgoing personality? So this is how selfishness impacts a relationship. For a sanguine personality, we're known to be social and outgoing, the life of the party. And the way selfishness can manifest itself. And y'all, excuse me, I seem to have tongue tied. My tongues are tied tonight. My tongue is tied tonight. Can't even say that. But anyway, sanguine personalities may manifest that in a way by seeking excessive attention and validation. And I find it interesting because I am a sanguine, and I had to learn that over the years, that I didn't have to be the center of attention. I didn't have to claim the limelight. And the reason why that was important is because my husband is also a sanguine. So as this says, often we divert our focus away from our partner's needs. We're so busy trying to get our own needs met. We're so busy trying to get the attention. We're so busy spending all our time on the telephone with our friends that we don't give the same level of attention to our mates. And that's critical. It's a critical thing that we have to do. And my friends, all of us do this. What are you doing? This spouse is home, I talk to you later, because we try to give you the time to be with your spouses. All right. The effect it has on the relationship is that selfishness can strain any relationship, especially with the sanguine, as the partner may feel neglected or overshadowed. We are bigger than life personalities, and we can certainly fill up a room and suck the air out of a room, right? And not leave a lot of room for our spouses. I can now sit in a room and be with our friends, and I could be a shrinking violet and allow my husband to shine. Take it up, honey. You got it. And it can also lead to conflicts and emotional distance if it's not addressed. So some of the things that we can do is be selfless, right? And some of the ways we can do that is practice active listening. Listen to our mates. You can also look at body language, because body language will tell you if you're doing too much. I always pay attention to people looking at me a certain way. If I'm so loud, people always do stuff like, lower it, because I'm loud. I can't help myself. Even when I listen to my own podcast, I think, wow, you're loud. But also think I got a hearing problem. That's the truth be told. But anyway, then people will lean back. If they lean back, they're trying to tell you something. So just pay attention to body language, but practice active listening. And listening to your partner expresses needs and or concerns to you. And you have to make sure that you're not constantly trying to, turn the tables or flip the script or make it seem like the conversation is about you or about them. It's not about you, but it's about them. So you have to be careful, because we're really good at that. We're very charismatic and we know how to flip a script. We also need to show appreciation to our spouse or our significant other. And we need to make an effort, because you have to just say thank you. Like, thank you for taking the trash out. Thank you for putting gas in my car. Thank you for, whatever it is you do, anything that you do. Thank you for cooking me breakfast. Thank you for bringing me water. Thank you for whatever it is you do. Thank you. Show appreciation and gratitude, because your mate may always get overshadowed by you, especially if they're not a sanguine 2 or a choleric. If they're introverted, you may always be overshadowing them. So you got to do something to let that person know that you appreciate their qualities. You appreciate their efforts. You appreciate anything they bring to the table. The other thing is, learn to wait your turn. That's so hard, because we try to finish people's sentences. We're always trying to finish people's sentences. Why are we finishing folks' sentences? Stop doing that. And we need to give our partners an opportunity to share what they're thinking. You already know what you're thinking. Give them an opportunity to share what they're thinking. Okay, let's see here. Ooh, I'm going to get sweet Foxy. I'm going to get to that question or that comment, because I love it. All right, let's talk about the second extroverted personality style, the powerful choleric. The powerful choleric. Selfishness impacts their relationship, because the cholerics can be assertive and very goal-oriented. They care about the task at hand and getting things done. Selfishness in cholerics can manifest itself as a desire for control or to dominate within the relationship. They potentially disregard their partner's opinions and needs, because it's more about what they want or what they need. Excuse me. So you got to be careful as a choleric, because cholerics are just such a take control personality style. Get it done and make things happen, a mover and a shaker, right? And if you are an extroverted personality style and you possess the cholerics tend to hurt other people's feelings, because they just say exactly what's on their mind. And they know what they're saying is right, but doesn't mean it's nice. It doesn't mean that it's necessary to be said. Everything you think, you don't have to say. And everything you think, you don't have to say abruptly or bluntly or in a curt and abrasive way, which tends to happen with a choleric. And listen, I'm not preaching to the choir. I'm a part of the choir, because I am secondary choleric. And I have to catch myself all the time and apologize all the time, because I tend to just say stuff like, whatever it is I'm thinking. Yeah, but that's not what I was going to do. Well, because I don't want to. I'm just saying things and not thinking about the tone. And it's really because it's disrupting what I want to do or what I'm thinking or what I want to say. And then I just snap. And I don't mean to be snappy. I hate that about me. But that's what a choleric will tend to do and not even recognize that they're doing it. All right. The effect on a relationship is that this form of selfishness can lead to the power struggles and conflict. It can also undermine your partner's sense of not agency, or your partner's sense of what they can control, right? And lead to the breakdown in communication. So whatever the partner feels like they have any level of control over, it can break that down. It can break down their self-esteem and their self-worth if you're not careful. And it will definitely break down communication and trust. If a person feels like they can't trust you because you're so overbearing, so they don't feel like they can trust saying things to you, or communicating with you in a certain way, it's because your strong domineering personality is pushing them down and forcing them in a place where they feel like, you know what? You're not listening to me. You don't hear me. You don't understand me. So I'm shutting down. I don't have anything to say. And that's not what you want in a relationship. You want there to be open communication. But that's what the kind of thing that selfishness can do, right? If you're selfless, you'll practice some empathy for your mate. You'll practice some empathy. You'll make an effort to understand your partner's perspective and feelings, even if they're different from yours. And a lot of times they are. That's why we have conflict, is because it's a difference of opinion. It's a difference in personality. It's the lens by which we view the world. It's the way I see things, right? It's the way my personality was shaped by my experiences. So my perspective will be different from yours sometimes. I mean, if we married each other or we're in a relationship, we have some things in common for sure. But we also have things that will be different. And it's okay to be different. It's okay to be different. All right. The other thing is try to share some control. It's so hard for a choleric to relinquish control over everything. Like they want control over everything. And I have grown. I think being in ministry and being in business has allowed me to grow, because I was the kind of person that felt I was afraid, honestly. I was afraid to let go. I was afraid to relinquish control, because I wasn't trusting. And I didn't think I wasn't a person that didn't trust people. But that's really the source of it, is that you don't trust that anybody can do it better than you or the way you want it done. It's a lack of trust. Wow. Look at this. Sweet Foxy said, I didn't realize I had controlling tendencies until I started watching your content. Woo, it took me some years, and I teach the content to see it in my own self. So, hey, I got you. Excuse me. If you share control, you will avoid dominating decision making. So it won't be one-sided, lopsided decision making, which this will allow your partner to feel like they have a say, not just in important matters, but in all matters. They should be able to have a say in what's happening in your relationship. You should not hear about it secondhand. I watched another show I was watching about relationships, Love and Marriage Detroit. And there's one husband on that show that he was just making all these random decisions and then tell his wife after he made the decisions. And I'm thinking, what are you talking? Why would you do that? And, he made, one decision he made to go to the School of Divinity. And I think if God has called you to do something like that, that's amazing. But God is not the God of confusion. So if he called you to it, your wife is going to be cool with it because he'll prepare her for it, right? But for you to spring it on her after you've already started school with no discussion, that's what I'm saying. You have to learn to share control. You have to learn to consider your mate's feelings. You have to allow your mate to be in the midst of your decision making. It's a partnership. That's what this whole segment tonight is about. It's building partnerships, strong partnerships, so you can have a strong connection. That's what it is. All right. And the last thing is seek compromise. Be willing to find a middle ground in your conflicts rather than insisting on having things your way. One of the things I used to do with some of my coaching clients and in my own relationship, I do the same thing. And that is, how important is that thing to me? On a scale of 1 to 10, if it's a 1 for me and it's a 10 for him, okay, we're going to do it. If it's a 5 for both of us, we table it. If it's a low number, we table it. You know what I mean? But if it's a high number for me and a low number for him, then it goes my way. And that's what we do. But everything shouldn't be a 10 for you, for either one of you. It should really be looking at the pros and cons of a situation and finding a middle ground. All right. Let's go to the introverts. Perfect melancholy. Selfishness impacts of melancholy. Melancholy tend to be detail-oriented. They have extremely high standards for themselves and others. The standards are not just high for other people, it's for themselves too. And they can't even meet their impossible standards. And they want other people to, because they're impossible, they truly are. Selfishness shows up for melancholy may involve obsessing over their own needs and perfectionism. They can be obsessive over their own needs and being a perfectionist. Or have a critical attitude towards their partner's efforts. Let me tell you, I see this in my melancholy friends all the time. Whenever their spouse is doing something, they're constantly criticizing what the spouse is doing. Constantly. It's never to their level of expertise. I think I've said this before. Melancholies they have high standards of themselves and others, right? And if you go into their homes, typically everything has a place and everything is in its place, right? Nothing's out of place. And so if they're doing something, like if let's say the spouse is washing the dishes, they can never wash the dishes clean enough, or put them away in the right spot, or put things away in the right spot, or the bed's not made the right way. Whatever it is, it's always something. The decision wasn't thought out completely. It's just they didn't spend money like they were supposed to. They didn't save the amount. It's always a criticism because their standards are so outrageous. It's so outrageous. Now, the effect that it has on a relationship is that type of selfishness can create a sense of inadequacy and frustration in the partner. The partner will feel like, I'm not good enough. Like nothing I do is good enough. Like I can't satisfy you. I can't make you happy. I'm just, so I just won't do nothing. Right? It also may lead to the lack of emotional connection and intimacy if the melancholy is too focused on their own expectations. Yes, melancholies. Everything is not about your expectations. Expectation is the killer of a relationship. Expectations are killers of a relationship. That's what they are. Because we always have these expectations that we want people to live out. And some people are just not capable. And sometimes they shouldn't have to. Because if it's your issue, if I didn't clean the counter well enough for you, get a rag. Get the cleaning. Anyway, all right, let's talk about selflessness. in the perfect melancholy. Sometimes you just got to set some realistic expectations or goals. I should have said goals there, because an expectation, I said before, is a killer of the relationship. Recognize that perfectionism can lead to unrealistic expectations, right? Focus on setting achievable goals, both for yourself and your partner. Mm-hmm. Would that kind of bit you? Did you get a little bite from that one? You said, "Oops," you got a little bite from that one. Communicate constructively. Like, don't hurt people's feelings. Like, is that how you put the clothes away? Did you put gas in my car? Oh, well, I had to leave in the morning. Can't believe you didn't put the gas in my car. I will have to keep asking you that. Like, come on now. Share your needs and your preferences with your partner calmly and constructively. Even if you've already shared it and they forgot, or you have to keep telling them, just keep telling them. Sometimes you just have to do that, because everybody's not like you. Melancholies have memories like elephants. They don't forget stuff. So if you don't forget stuff, you just assuming everybody else don't forget. I'll forget your name 5 seconds after you tell it to me. And I tell people all the time when I do this conference on November the 4th, I said, listen, don't be offended, because at the end of this conference, I won't know your name. And if I see you down the street 10 minutes from now and you say, oh, like I'll be looking at you like I don't know who you are. So you might have to keep reminding me about what it is you want me to do. Take my shoes off, okay, until it becomes a habit for me. Rather than criticizing and dwelling on the flaws. Stop dwelling on the flaws, because the more you talk about it, the more you get it. What you speak, you create. If you keep calling your husband a bum, he'll be a bum. If you keep saying he's a liar, he'll continue to lie. If you say he's a cheater, he's going to keep on cheating. Whatever you speak, you create. And I'm a firm believer of that. So keep your mouth shut. Also, allow for flexibility. Be open to adapting your plans and standards when necessary. Understanding that flexibility is essential in relationships. Whew, you melancholies got to try to be a little more flexible. Just a little bit more flexible. All right, let's get to the fourth and final one on this one. And then I see another comment I want to address. All right. Peaceful phlegmatics, selfishness. Phlegmatics are often easygoing and they avoid conflict. But selfishness in a phlegmatic may involve passive aggressive behaviors. I have phlegmatics in my life, so I've seen that passive aggressive stuff. Or withdrawal when their needs are not being met. Right? They'll withdraw. They won't say anything. They'll ignore you. They'll be quiet, silently quiet. They'll be silently mad. I'm just saying. Passive aggressive. The effect that it has on a relationship is this kind of selfishness can result in emotional distance and miscommunication. And the reason why is because once a phlegmatic shuts down, it's over. It's a wrap. And then they start assuming, and I always say what the mind doesn't know, it makes up. So if the phlegmatic shuts down, it has nothing to say, it's because what the mind doesn't know, it's making it up. And all of a sudden that miscommunication happens because that phlegmatic is now making up stuff in their mind. And if they're not talking, so are you. My phlegmatic says I'm making the phlegmatic stuff up. Laugh out loud. No, I'm not. It's so true. It's so true. It's so true. The partners may feel frustrated by the lack of openness and vulnerability in the relationship because, as I said, the phlegmatic was shut down. and won't be open and won't communicate because it's hard enough for them to communicate in the first place. And if they're shut down, they really won't communicate, right? How they can be selfless is to communicate. Overcome passive or passivity by communicating your needs and concerns openly and directly to your partner. I know that's not easy. I know that's not easy for the phlegmatic. That's why when they are willing to talk, you better listen, because they don't open up that often unless they're ready to talk. Like phlegmatics always say, you won't even know that they're dating until get your invitation saying that they're getting married. You're like, what? You were dating? You with somebody? Like they keep their stuff private. What's that saying your sister says? I forgot, was like about you operating in silence or something like that. Yeah, phlegmatics operate in silence. And before you know it, bam, it's done. It's said and done. All right. The other thing is express your feelings. Practice expressing your emotions and your desires, even if it's uncomfortable at first. And it will be uncomfortable at first because you're not used to it. So anything that you do that you're not used to and you haven't built emotional intelligence around will take you some time to be able to express yourself. Now, that phlegmatic has gotten really good at expressing herself. It took her so many years of staring you down and operating in silence, but now she'll tell you just how she feels. Engage actively. Participate actively in the relationship by initiating activities and discussions rather than always deferring to others' preferences or your partner's preferences. Sometimes, rather than having an open and honest conversation, the phlegmatic will say, okay, that's fine. I'll do it your way. I'll do it your way. You know, I would just rather not argue. And don't do that, because then you find yourself in a position where you don't get to address it, and you will shut down, and there will be poor communication with the two of you. So that's about selfishness. Those are some of the ways you can deal with that. In the workshop that I'm doing, we're going to talk about selfishness in more detail. So if you're interested in coming, I'm going to have some content up by the next show, so you can register for it. But I think it's going to be exciting, especially if you're in this area. If you're close by, you can even come and do it. It's only going to be a few hours of your time, but it's going to be worth it, because you're going to be able to really do some work on your relationship and build a stronger relationship. My desire that has been placed on my heart is to help married people stay married, to stay coupled for life. That is my desire. But it's also my desire, if you're single and you want someday to be in a relationship and you want to be married, is to prepare your personality for it. It's to help you to get your personality ready to be in a relationship by understanding yourself first, and then by understanding other people. All right. So let me see. You made a comment, Foxy. You said, I'm guessing this is your ex. He is introverted and I'm extroverted, totally different personalities. How would that affect my relationship? Well, honestly, you know, you hear opposites attract, and they do. Most opposites are married. Now, that didn't happen in my situation, but I dated somebody that was an opposite. I was married to my first husband, was an opposite. But opposite attract. It's something about their characteristics that draw you to them, right? So if you're an extrovert, you're outgoing, you're bubbly, or you're a choleric, that's the sanguine, and then, or you're choleric and you're a leader or whatever, and you take charge kind of personality, you take solace in having somebody who's more grounded, who's not as reactionary, who is who just makes you relax some and not be so over the top. People are drawn towards that, right? And that seem to have a sense of inner peace that that we crave as extroverts. And then as an introvert are drawn to extroverts, and they're drawn to extroverts because they look at us and say they seem to be having the most fun in life, or they seem to have their crap together. They seem to know what they're doing. They seem to know where they're going. They seem to not be afraid. Sanguines and cholerics are afraid, but we just do it anyway. We walk through the fear and keep it moving. But we have fears too. So that's kind of how that works out, is that you find the balance in the relationship. What balances the relationship? And that's how you're able to deal with that, is that you balance each other, right? Now, a lot of the couples that I know have the same personality styles, and that can be more challenging. I mean, you will be surprised. Like, some of the things will be great. Like, if you're both introverts, then you might like the same kind of activities. Like, you may be okay with not having a lot of company, or having small dinner parties or small events. Reading, relaxing, laying on the beach, taking, spending time alone together. You may like those things. So those are some of the things that having the same introverted personality styles may afford you. But at some point, you might look at each other and go, I'm bored. Like, I need some excitement. I want something different. And the introverts tend to be more status quo, right? Now, the extroverts, when they're together, they can be very exciting. And they, maybe loving to travel and having company over and stuff like that. But that can also cause conflict, because, we tend to not be caring about finances and spending a lot of unnecessary money and not saving for the future. And that can cause a strain on the relationship. So there are various things that can cause a strain on a relationship, whether you have the exact same, you have the same personality styles in terms of introvert and extrovert, or if you're opposites from each other. Every type of personality can have its challenges based on your understanding of your personality or your lack of understanding of your personality and the personality of your mate. So I hope that answered your question. All right, let's see here. How much time do we have? We have 10 minutes. Do you want me to do another one, or answer? I'll answer another question. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, his personality changed over the course of our long-term relationship, 25 plus years. If why the drastic changes, can't figure it out. Changes can happen for a multitude of reasons. First of all, your personality you will always be the personality you were born with. So let me start by that. So if he was an introvert, he's always been an introvert, right? He will not change from being an introvert. He may present differently for a multitude of reasons. So let's say he was an extrovert, right? But he comes off as an introvert now. And that could be one or two reasons. One, he could have a secondary introverted personality style that he's now fallen more into. Or there could have been some emotional, mental, physical, sexual trauma that took place that shaped his personality, right? If he's introverted, and I think I would have to have a couple of more key words to help me understand the change, right? But if he was introverted and he seems to be more withdrawn, he may be more withdrawn because of some trauma as well. But if he's introverted and he became extroverted, that will be interesting to me, because if he's a phlegmatic, he can mimic all the other personality styles and therefore look like he's an extrovert, but really is not. So, Foxy, if you have, a couple of other, like tightening up that question a little bit, then I can probably answer it a little bit better. But anyway, so let's do one more, and I'm going to finish this up next week. Let's talk about number 2 question. How can understanding personality differences help couples navigate conflicts and disagreements more effectively? Whew, you're welcome. Okay. Conflict resolution. For the sanguine, we are very social. We're very expressive. We're very over the top, big personalities. So our partners should really allow us to be able to talk and share our feelings during conflict. And because we'll tell you how we feel, just give us an opportunity. Sometimes you can't take it personally. Okay. So when we're telling you how we feel, we're very dramatic, for lack of a better word. It says expressive. That's what I say, expressive, but dramatic, we can be that too. We can be very loud. We can sound like we're screaming or arguing. We sound like we're yelling, but really we're loud anyway. So when we're talking, our normal tone is loud. So it always sounds like we're screaming. So if we have any passion that goes along with that, it really sounds like we're screaming. But you have to allow us to be able to communicate and to share what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And for the conflict resolution, the way we resolve our conflict is through open dialogue, right? And being able to express our affections, right? So we're huggers, we may cry, we may do whatever to express how we feel, but we need you to understand that it's just the way we communicate, and don't take it personally. And I have been trying to do that over the 30 years that I've been married almost. All right. Managing emotions. Sanguines may need some reassurance and empathy during conflicts to manage their emotions effectively. We just need to know that you hear us, right? We need you to hug us. We need you to understand where we're coming from, at least attempt to understand where we're coming from. Sometimes you guys don't get us, and it's okay, but make an attempt to understand us. And balancing the needs. Partners can acknowledge sanguine's need for attention and excitement by finding other things for us to demonstrate that, right? Other than the way we do, which is off the chart sometimes. So it's just helping us to balance what our needs are. We need some excitement. We need some fun. We need you to help us to have fun in ways that are appropriate, right? And it's not doesn't cause conflict. All right. Powerful cholerics. Powerful cholerics. The way they can avoid conflict, or they can improve communication and conflict, is by recognizing that cholerics are very assertive. Some people might say aggressive, but I say assertive. It helps to communicate assertively and with clear and concise points. In other words, when you're talking to us, we're going to talk to you in bottom lines. A, this happened. B, this happened. C, this happened. What you going to do about it? Well, A, I'm going to do this. B, I'm going to do that. C, I'm going to do that. We're clear. We're concise, to the point, right? We need you to do the same way with us. If you're going to communicate with us, don't give us 10,000 details. Give us the points. If we want more, we'll ask you, right? So that's the best way to do it. And the way to manage emotions is cholerics appreciate partners who don't escalate the conflict. Like, because we can escalate all by ourselves. And we look at an escalation as a challenge. And that's not how it should really be addressed. So don't escalate conflicts emotionally. Just focus on the solution. So in other words, we shouldn't be looking at each other. We should be looking at the problem. If the problem is money, let's look at the problem, which is money, not how each other, you just waste money, you da-da-da. Stop pointing fingers and say, the problem is we need more money. What is the solution and how can we get there? Right. All right. The managing emotions. Cholerics may appreciate partners. Oh, I already did that. Balancing needs. Partners can recognize colleagues' desire for control and involve them in the decision-making process. If you already know we got a control, issue with control, then we just need for you to just work with us, and we will work with you as a partner. As in our relationship, we should take control together. We exercise control together. We look at each other's point of view and we balance it together. Okay? All right, next. Powerful melancholy. I'm sorry, the perfect, I should say perfect melancholy. Perfect melancholy. The perfect melancholies are detail-oriented. So your partners present their arguments with well-organized facts and data. And let me tell you something. The worst thing you can do with a melancholy is come to them and you don't have facts and you don't have data to support. I have a melancholy child. Don't you try to talk to her and you don't have your facts together, because she will give you in 1942 at 12:52 p.m. This happened and that's how it happened, and where are your facts? So you need to make sure that your facts are organized, that they make sense, that you can prove it. Otherwise, you lost the battle before you got started, okay? Melancholies prefer logical solutions and appreciate when their partners address the root causes of conflict. And the reason why melancholy needs you to address the root causes of conflict is because they're deep thinkers, right? They're deep thinkers. I don't know what 19.2 means. I don't know what that means. But anyway, they're deep thinkers. And so when you come to them, you better, let's work this thing out so we don't revisit it. Let's get to the crux of the issue. Let's get to the root of it so we don't have to keep going back to the same thing over and over again. All right, balancing their needs. Understanding the fact that they have perfectionist tendencies, the partners can offer support and encouragement. Yeah, baby, it's going to be okay. We may not get to that point, but we're going to get where we need to be. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. I have your back. I got you. I support you. Oh, right. She said 19.2 seconds with the facts when describing my daughter. That's right. In 19.2 seconds, you better have those facts. So true. So true. Woo! You better come correct or they'll shoot you down. All right. Peaceful phlegmatic. The peaceful phlegmatic, in their communication with you, knowing that a peaceful phlegmatic avoids conflict, partners can approach disagreements calmly and provide reassurance. You got to make a phlegmatic feel like they're able to communicate with you. If you're aggressive with them, they'll shut down. If you're not listening to them and they're trying to explain something to you, they'll shut down. If you bog them down with too many details, they'll shut down. And they don't like a lot of questions. So when they are willing, you have to make them feel secure enough to be able to communicate what they're thinking and feeling, right? Reassure them that it's going to be okay. And then they'll open up more to you. But you got to allow that to happen. Otherwise, it's a wrap for them. Conflict resolution. Phlegmatics may seek compromises and harmony, valuing a peaceful resolution. Now, the problem with that can be is that even though the phlegmatic will seek to compromise, some spouses of that phlegmatic will seek to try to manipulate because they know that spouse would rather compromise than be right or have conflict. Okay? So you have to be careful with that. Managing emotions. Phlegmatics may find comfort in partners who are understanding and non-confrontational. Didn't I say that? Don't confront them. Don't push them. Don't beat them up. Allow them to be who they are. All right. Balancing needs. Partner's needs. Okay, your partner can ensure that phlegmatics feel valued and included, meeting their need for emotional connection. Phlegmatics need emotional connection. Once they connect with you, that's it. I mean, that's when you know you're with somebody. That phlegmatic is with you to the end. They're very loyal, but you got to be able to connect, and they have to trust you. They have to trust you with their heart, with their emotions, with their sense of value and a sense of self-worth. They have to trust you. And if you do anything to damage that, it is hard coming back from that with a phlegmatic, because they hold on to stuff like that. So that's all I'm going to cover tonight. That's our 1 hour is up. I'm going to cover the rest next week. We got a couple of more interesting questions. If you want to participate in the conversation, but you don't want to post it, you want me to read it anonymously, I'll be happy to do that. All you got to do is send me an email at beyond2llc@gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat, and I'll be happy to post your questions and answer your questions on air. I thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'll have the workshop information. Just mark your calendar, especially if you have under 10 years of marriage under your belt, or 10 years or under. I would love for you to come to the conferences in DC, November the 4th from 12 to 2 o'clock. I say 2:30-ish, just to give you time to ask any questions, or to engage in conversation or whatever. But from 12 to 2, I want you to come and be a part of it. I'll have information out on all my social media platforms this week, and I hope you'll be able to join us. That particular workshop is entitled Building Forever, Exploring the Personalities for a Stronger Marriage Connection. And I think we need that. We need a stronger marriage connection. I thank you guys for joining me on Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. I thank you that, you come back each week and live with me and join me in the party at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please subscribe, comment, check the notification bell so you can get the latest show as it airs live each Wednesday. I love you. I thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you got content that you can use. Goodbye and good night until next week. Take care, you guys.